Oh, and there it is. We are live. What's up, wrestling fans?
I'm Kevin. This is
Hey,
Dynamite Doug.
It's Dynamite Doug. It's like Lucha Brothers Dynamite Doug tonight.
Yes, of course, appropriately dressed for a talk about the most stupendous Wrestlemania of all time. Because, Doug, that is our main event topic tonight on the Two Bros Wrestling Show. We are previewing next weekend's two-night WrestleMania event. And, Doug, believe it or not, WrestleMania 38, but the third Two Bros Wrestling Show WrestleMania preview.
That is insane.
Can you believe that?
You know, I saw earlier today that we have 97. I think this will be once it goes live and is in the archives. 98 videos on YouTube now, my friend. What is that about?
Time flies when you're having fun. One of the very first shows we did was a preview of WrestleMania 36. So here we are, 3 years later. Doug, main topic.
And we still haven't got that Tessa Blanchard interview yet that I promised you many moons ago.
I presume you're still working on it. She's she's hard to find right now.
She's gone underground for sure.
But Doug, as we do, before we get into our main event topic, let's get to the opening bell.
Let's do it. Ding, ding, ding.
Talk a little bit of news. I guess the best thing to start with this week would be, and I did say start. The best thing to start with this week, game over.
Start it up. I know, man. This is crazy. Have you seen any of this interview that he did? I watched a little bit of it yesterday. I know you've been crazy busy recently, so you may not have seen this, but
I actually haven't. No.
The interview is insane. How, right around SummerSlam, he's talking about how he's just feeling run down, thinks something's wrong. He starts coughing up blood stuff, and he's like, "Hey, you need to go to the doctor." And it turns out he has pneumonia, which is something you're probably familiar with right now. And it turns out that I forgot what artery it is clogged, though, like 99% clogged, because his EF, his ejection fraction, in his that's basically the force that your heart's pumping with, should be right between like 65 and 55. His is 30. His doctor calls him, says, "Pack a bag, get to the ER, I'll meet you there." By the time he gets to the ER, his EF is down to 22. The next day, it's down to 12. And that is some ground you do not want to be in, because that, my friend, is heart failure.
Total heart failure. And,
total heart failure.
For those who also have had busy weeks or maybe don't know what Doug and I are talking about, it is Triple H who announced his retirement, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that Triple H was already retired, because truthfully, he was now in that legacy phase of the career where he was good for one or two matches a year, usually a WrestleMania, occasionally if the money in Saudi Arabia was looking right. But we knew, obviously, that on the creative side, it's been a tough year for Triple H with NXT kind of falling a little bit away from him as he stepped away for health issues. But by officially announcing his retirement, a 30-year career, it should be said, which is something, in and of itself to be proud of, even without the creative end and what he's done behind the scenes at WWE. But just from the wrestling standpoint itself, it's sad to say goodbye to Triple H. But when you hear him open up about the health issues that sidelined him, we knew a little bit, Doug, of course, about hey, he had heart issues from procedure. He's taken some time away. He was never this open until he announced his retirement as to exactly how serious it was. This was not a minor event.
Yeah, this was not a minor cardiac event. And to be clear, we're talking his retirement from in-ring action, I think we could be, folks out there could be forgiven, like you said, for thinking he may have already been retired. But I guess he's still continuing his day-to-day duties as, I want to say, like global something of talent something. I'm sure it's a much more official title than what I just rolled off. But he'll continue doing his global talent whatever thing. But yeah, as far as in-ring action, we have seen our last of the game, because he even joked, he has a defibrillator in his chest now, so he doesn't want to be shocked on live TV and see that thing going off. So his in-ring action is over.
So best of luck in his future endeavors. That sounds wrong.
No, that is not right. Triple H was not future endeavor. This is where we get Triple H to AEW confirmed.
Triple H, it's thank you for the 30 years, and we'll see him on the creative end of things. Hopefully, back on a more regular basis at NXT.
Absolutely.
While we're on these topic of retirements and goodbyes, for much less serious reasons, actually for unknown reasons, and obviously less high profile, but the Dirty Dango, or AKA Fandango, as he used to be known, has announced his retirement from the ring, said that it will be coming soon. I don't know how soon. He was not specific. He deleted his Twitter. Sometimes there's some drama behind those kind of decisions when a social media presence or star of any sort takes those things down. Not really sure why. He has been at it for a long time. He's wrestling with the NWA currently. Obviously, he was future endeavored not all that long ago by WWE. And at this age and stage of his career, he might think that active in-ring competition and taking those kind of bumps may not be the best thing for a long-term, well-being and a healthy retirement at some point.
Didn't Fandango, Dirty Dango, just recently join the Control Your Narrative promotion as well, though?
Yes. Yeah, he's actually been very
popped.
active on the indie scene. So NWA, Control Your Narrative. Obviously, doesn't mean he won't still do indie dates, or he would not be the first wrestler to announce his retirement to then back up on it. Nor would he be the first person to say that they're quitting social media only to be back with it as well.
Right. Well, one thing's for sure about wrestlers or sports entertainers in some instances that, retirements rarely stick. And, this could be a work too. Who knows? We'll see.
I think we in our 97 shows out there, I'm pretty sure we have one on wrestling retirements.
Right. It's in the archives. Check it out.
In the archives. Davey Richards. Talk about someone who retired and then unretired. So he retired Ring of Honor and for 7 years was gone doing work as an EMT, and he returned last year, short-term kind of contract to get back in the ring, get his feet wet with MLW, and he has now signed a 2-year extension with MLW. It's going so well, and if you've not seen any of his matches, he had a great one with Buddy Matthews, and honestly, he doesn't look like he's lost a step in the ring. So this is really good news for a young upcoming promotion such as MLW to have a Davey Richards sign on more long-term, especially since MLW is kind of known for the open door policy of only having a few contracted talents and having lots of free agents in and out. A little bit of Ring of Honor news. Gabe Sapolsky, who is the former Ring of Honor booker, he took to his Twitter this week and did so to apologize for the in-character commentary that he did back in the day at Ring of Honor. During really the early days of the promotion, Sapolsky was on air really to save money, and he will readily admit that it was a different era. You were coming right out of the extreme era of ECW, and so therefore a lot of the things he said on commentary haven't aged very well.
Right.
And he will admit that it was the shock value era of both ECW and Attitude that they were trying to bring into that early ROH, and the fact that he couldn't find any decent commentators, and because he was a behind-the-scenes power broker there at the early days of Ring of Honor, he is a co-founder. As such, it was a way to save money. It took long hours to produce these episodes, and he was trying to save Kerry Silken, who was floating the promotion at the time, money. So he says in his words that the commentary ranges from bad to embarrassing to deplorable, and that was his quote. He apologized for anyone that he had offended, and for anyone whose enjoyment of the classic Ring of Honor library would be any way affected by his commentary. He also called out in this post new ROH owner Tony Khan and asking if anyone who maybe knew Khan could persuade him to edit out some of the commentary, if at all possible, just so that all these thousands of hours of library content that Tony purchased doesn't recirculate out there with the same original commentary. I don't know how how Tony feels about it. Tony's yet to respond. Don't know what exactly will become of the Ring of Honor library. It very well could be used in pieces and not in totality. All of that, of course, is to be determined. And Doug, I think we need to do a show not too very long from now talking about Ring of Honor and how it might be reimagined.
Absolutely.
Tony.
Yeah. Hold on, let me text Tony now and see if see what he wants to. If
Yeah,
he can
let him know that Sapolsky is wanting that commentary edited out if he could get onto that.
I'll get on that. Maybe he'll send me some editing work my way.
And I'll end with a couple of WrestleMania items because I think that'd be a great way to transition into our main event topic tonight. But first, if you want to see WrestleMania on the big screen, well, congratulations. You're going to have your chance. Fathom Events is presenting WrestleMania in select movie theaters. You can do a quick Google search of WrestleMania and Fathom Events to see their website and a list of all the theaters that will be broadcasting WrestleMania on the big screen. This is not necessarily unheard of, though it does really harken back to the old
that's very old school
closed circuit days. AEW has done this in the past, and so now WWE is putting WrestleMania in theaters. Edge AJ, one of the matches that we'll be talking about and predicting, but if you were expecting to see it on WrestleMania Sunday as advertised, it has been moved over to WrestleMania Saturday, night 1. And a lot of folks are saying that night 2 has definitely been the stronger looking WrestleMania on paper. And so this might be an attempt to try to rebalance it a little bit by taking what should be one of the matches of the weekend and putting it on Saturday night. And then finally, before we get to the main event topic, let's just talk some programming notes because it is a stupendously busy week of WrestleMania content. Yes. So as such, you would have on Friday night what they now refer to as WrestleMania Smackdown because the events of WrestleMania have just grown. So really, WrestleMania Smackdown is almost a pre-show. And it was last year, and I think maybe the year before that, but definitely it was last year. And obviously they're going to continue that tradition because WrestleMania Smackdown this year will include the annual Andre the Giant Battle Royal, as well as the Intercontinental title match. Ricochet's WrestleMania title defense will actually be on Friday night on SmackDown. On Saturday at noon Eastern time, you have NXT Stand and Deliver. This is the first time that the NXT 2.0 brand has actually toured. So this will be the first time outside of the Performance Center there in Orlando that these men and women will be performing. And not just, I guess, the 2.0. It should be noted this is the first time NXT in general has been on the road since they shut down all the shutdowns that we experienced in March of 2020. So for all of those reasons, the noon event on Saturday is really important. And honestly, wish we had time to talk everything and preview everything, but the card for it is looking pretty great. Some of the best wrestling of the weekend may actually be at noon on an NXT 2.0 event. So don't sleep on that, folks. If you're just in, a wrestling mood and have all the time to watch wrestling this weekend, don't skip out on the midday show. Saturday night, WrestleMania Saturday, pre-show starts at 7. Pre-show starts at 6. Main show starts at 8. So it's 2 hours of pre-show. So you can imagine that there's going to be a lot of matches there. The same holds true for WrestleMania Sunday as far as when the pre-show starts and when the actual event is scheduled to start. Your two bros, we got 2 shows, and we want to throw
2 bros, 2 shows.
Those 2 shows because Doug, we're going to do a first for ourselves, and that's be live twice in one evening as we go live right before WrestleMania Sunday to review WrestleMania Saturday, and then any last minute notes that we might have or things like that, we'll watch the big show on Sunday with you all as well, and be back at the end of Roman and Lesnar to tell you what we think of night 2. So there's a lot of WrestleMania and WrestleMania related programming on your way this week, including from yours truly.
That's a whole lot of wrestling next weekend. My goodness.
And speaking of that, Doug, I guess we should get to the main event topic because it is a whole lot of wrestling and 2 nights worth of previews. where do you want to begin? I'd say Saturday.
Let's do Saturday. Let me see what I got pulled up here on the old computer screen. My God, my screen is far away. What does that say? Okay, so WrestleMania Saturday. What I've got in my notes is so far, and I don't know if these are in any particular order. I'm going to say they're probably not, but what I pulled off of the interwebs here has. I'm just going to go down my list. How about that? Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship that's going to be on Saturday night with Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey.
So this is likely going to be your headline contest. This will be the main event on Saturday. Some reports have that it might be the KO Austin thing. So obviously these things are subject to change. That would be odd. I think these two women, Doug, to me, they deserve to headline one of the two nights of WrestleMania. So I would hope that this closes the show. I know Ronda has not really wrestled, hasn't had too many matches under her belt since her return. But there's no doubt about it. She's a purebred athlete, a natural. And I have no doubt about it that she can hold up her end with Charlotte. How do you see this one actually breaking down?
I'm not really sure about this. I see Ronda probably coming out on top. 'Cause I think that's just good for, a good feel-good show to end the night. If we are talking about this being the main event, of course, WWE has some very unique ideas about what a main event is. To me, main event, last show of the last contest of the night. That's your main event. But I would like to see this or the Raw Women's Championship as the main event for Saturday night. But I'm going to call Ronda for this one. What are your thoughts?
Same. Ronda is too recently returned for her to be losing right now, I think. And I don't think at this point it really matters if Charlotte wins or loses. Not that Ronda needs the win either, but I don't think this is a short-term program for her to come back, take that belt, and lose it in short order. So I say she goes over and keeps the crowd happy, and she moves on. And I'm not sure what Charlotte does. Charlotte's one of those acts at this point that, depending on what you believe about what you hear from backstage rumors and her own personal preferences and things, if she took a Sasha Banks style sabbatical,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
At all. Especially after WrestleMania, you do the big show and then you take some time off, hang out backstage with your husband and see if the grass is greener on the other side.
Sure. Why not? Why not? So let's stick with the ladies here and go ahead and bounce to the Raw Women's Championship, where we've got Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. To me, this one's a no-brainer that Belair finally gets her, finally comes back around to her, what was it, SummerSlam, where Becky Lynch rolls in and pins her in like 2 seconds or something just obscene like that after Bianca having this storybook ending at WrestleMania last year. I think Belair's got to go over again at WrestleMania this year over Becky Lynch.
You'll get no disagreements. We're going to be in lockstep so far, but same. Belair has earned that right. I know that she went over last year at WrestleMania, and it was a really beautiful moment, a historic moment. And I see no reason, though, why that can't be repeated and still pull the emotions out of the crowd, because truly she deserves it. She actually deserved better than the way they took the belt off of her. So hopefully they make right. What do you think, though? I find it a little curious myself that you have the two women's world titles and they're putting them on the same night.
I don't know. I mean, I think they have to bookend with the women's titles. I really think they do. One opens the show, one ends the show. I know WWE has that weird, like I already mentioned, that weird thing about main events, but I think just sometimes the way they're positioned, they're like top stars. I really think one of these opens, one of these closes, and it'll probably be if I'm a betting man, I put Becky Lynch and Belair to open everything, and then just take off from there, and just launch night one into the stratosphere.
Yeah, you will not go wrong with the ladies involved. So you definitely want your WrestleMania proper to start off hot for the whole weekend, to set the tone. And those would be two ladies who definitely could live up to that task for sure.
So I'm just going to roll on through here with what I've got. This has allegedly been rumored to close the show, but next in my list I've got the KO show here. And apparently at one time there was a lot of buzz about Austin actually showing up and having a match at WrestleMania this year. I think that a lot of that buzz that was around that got quickly knocked off right around the time that Cody was leaving and going back to WWE, and Shane got fired from WWE. So this got lost in the mix early, and I think it's evolved quite a bit since then. To we're probably going to get Stone Cold Steve Austin showing up and having a stunner showdown probably on the KO show. There'll be some physicality, but I don't think we're going to see a match here. What are your thoughts?
To me, this whole thing is just an example of WWE occasionally getting their cart before their horse. If they knew that Stone Cold wasn't ready to return to the ring, they should have probably been a lot more clear up front. Because even when you see Stone Cold's acceptance of KO's challenge, you can call it a match, you can call it a beatdown, you can call it whatever you want. And it's to me, it is already from the start showing that they're trying to mitigate everyone's expectations.
They're kind of starting to walk it back already. Hey, this isn't going to be a match. There will be physicality.
I was excited when I heard that he was coming back. I was like, okay, one of the greatest of all time, still young enough and looking, really fit and in shape. I can see him have a good match in him, and KO would be the perfect person for that. And I imagine that was the original plan. But Stone Cold is a perfectionist. He is a true student of the game of professional wrestling, and he is very likely the one that had them slow roll to say, hey, let's not overpromise what we're going to be able to do here, because there's reports that this all came together rather quickly, and Stone Cold may not have had the time that he would have wanted to have a full match. So I think it'll be entertaining. I'm slightly disappointed that it's not going to be a match, but there's no doubt about it that KO is hilarious. Stone Cold is a legend, even if they go the way of an angle that ends in beer being poured over Steen's or Owens' prone body. That's what we're going to get out of it, and everyone will be. It doesn't need to be ending a show, though. Just like you said earlier, whatever's on last is your main event. That should be a world title match of some sort.
Absolutely.
Not a segment.
So let's talk about two guys who could main event easily, considering both their storied careers. Next up on my list, I've got AJ Styles and Edge. And I'm not really sure what's going on with Edge and what, but this is one I haven't been able to really buy into, other than the fact of the two dudes involved, right? I mean, because we're talking, Edge, WWE legend, AJ Styles, wrestling god for sure. And I'm not talking JBL wrestling god, but AJ Styles, up there in the wrestling pantheon. This match will be entertaining. It will be amazing, but I'm not sure who I'm actually rooting for here, because I say this so often, probably too often. There's probably memes out there floating around, but we win watching this one, I think. If I have to pick, I'm going to go with the sentimental favorite of mine and say AJ goes over.
I'm doing the same. I'm picking AJ. I don't know that that's the way it's going to go, because this one is about as 50-50 as you could get. I think that this has a very, very real chance at being the best match on either of the WrestleMania cards. If they're given enough time for these two men to do what these two men can do, they both know that they are working with someone that can help them steal the whole show. Yes. And I don't doubt that for WrestleMania, they will both be out to do exactly that. So I think AJ goes over. I honestly have been really entertained to see heel evil Edge return. And I am happy to see AJ in a program that isn't a tag team, or isn't something that at one point looked like he was probably destined for a showdown with his protege, Omos. And I'm really happy we're getting this instead. So I'm just going to count our blessings on this, that the wrestling gods smiled upon us to give us this. And I'd be happy either way it goes.
I agree. I think I think we are pretty much marching in lockstep. Let's see. Let's see. So let's talk about the Mysterios versus like Miz and it's Logan Paul. It's not Jake Paul, right? Okay, it's Miz and Logan Paul versus the Mysterios. I hate to say this, but I really don't care. This is where we get to the celebrities of night one, it looks like. And I understand celebrity involvement. We did a whole show on it. I get it. I just don't care. I just don't. I'm going to say Miz and Logan Paul go over because, we need some heat here. Because everything I'm calling and booking, from my armchair booking has some baby faces going over. So I'm going to go Miz and Logan Paul here, just because.
Right. I want to disagree with you. So daggone it, I'm going to. Cool. I was going to go with Logan Paul and Miz only because, for as absurd the notion that it is, celebrities have a pretty good track record for big events in professional wrestling. Though they should not be able to stand toe to toe with a trained professional athlete that these folks are, they tend to win more often than not. So I do think that it's if it goes the direction you pick, I wouldn't be surprised at all. However, I'm going to go with the Mysterios just because there is so much celebrity involvement that surely they all aren't going to win. And there's a few of the others that I'm almost positive they're going to win. So this might be the one where everyone hates Miz. I mean, he's fun to hate. And it almost seems, though I know very little about him other than just how annoying he seems, that of these social media era stars that we now have that somehow qualify as celebrities, Logan Paul very well may be one of those Miz types where everyone seems to hate on him. It might make more sense in front of that crowd to have them lose than it would be to have them win. But who knows? And like you, who cares?
Who cares? Who cares? It's a come down match. And,
let's put this on the 2-hour preview show. How about that?
Sure. And I'm just going to keep rolling through here because we got a lot of matches to cover.
It's a lot.
So we're barreling through night one though. So I'm looking here. Is this right? Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin? Is that right?
It is. Is that night one? Is that night one?
Drew had a great moment in front of nobody as far as like an arena full. He had a great WrestleMania moment. And here's where he is now with Happy Corbin. There'll be interference from the Happy sidekick. I can't think of his name right now. But Madcap. There we go.
Like you don't have the shirt.
Is he in AEW now? But Madcap, Happy, there'll be some interference, which will cost Drew. Because again, I think we need some heat on night one, and this would provide that too. So I'm saying Drew loses here. Happy goes over.
So I know I'm picking all the faces, and this is only going to be the second time I disagree with you. I agree. Madcap will get involved. I think Drew goes over. I think I think that yes, he's come way down the card from where he was last WrestleMania, or especially the WrestleMania before that. So it's unfortunate for him. On the other hand, he also is wrestling with a legitimate injury that may require medical intervention at some point. So I do think that they will keep this one short and dominant for Drew McIntyre. Even if you're right, I believe it's going to be short because I don't think that Drew's really in any condition, and there's way too much on these cards for something to not be short.
There is way too much. And just looking at my notes, it looks like Saturday's actually stacked with a lot more matches, but I think there's a lot more quality in
Sundays.
In Sunday. So let me see here, Drew. So the last thing I have for Saturday is the SmackDown Tag Team Championship with the Usos versus Shinsuke and Rick Boogs. And let me just say, Rick Boogs is entertaining, and Shinsuke has made a career adjusting adjusting to an American style, getting out of Japanese strong style, and living the dream, man. I miss I miss New Japan Shinsuke, but I get it. At the end of the day, though, I think with the way things are going to go on night two, I say the Usos keep reigning and go over against Shinsuke and Rick Boogs.
I haven't really picked any heels yet, but I'm going to now, and definitely that the Usos roll on. I don't know that Shinsuke and Rick remain a team, or maybe
Right.
this, what sort of spells the end. I mean, they're really a bit of a makeshift team, and until recently, Boogs was not in the ring with Shinsuke. Obviously, Shinsuke, as legendary as he is more in the twilight of his career, and WWE's mind anyway. Boogs is more of the future, so it wouldn't surprise me to see the student be the focus moving forward after WrestleMania, and
Yeah,
that Boogs gets the big Mania push, and Shinsuke maybe fades a little to the background.
I can see that, and unless they squeeze some other things in, I've heard that the almighty Bobby Lashley may be returning, and we may very well see Lashley versus, is the dude's name Omos, the big Omos.
Yeah.
We may see a Lashley Omos feud that develops very quickly and makes it to WrestleMania. I don't know if that would be on night one or night two. And then there's the huge elephant, the AEW elephant in the room when we're talking about WrestleMania of Cody.
Well, let's talk that one, because that one's almost a definite going to happen. It's just odd the way that it's gone, and since we don't know, since we do not know if it's not one or not two, maybe that's a good one to transition between the two. And let's just talk about.
I think so. So I've been thinking about this story-wise. Bobby Lashley returning. It makes sense for there to be a Lashley Seth Rollins program that starts up, because it was Rollins that threw Austin Theory into Bobby Lashley's elimination chamber, causing the concussion and all that. So there's a built-in feud there already. But I mean, all the dirt sheets have it going a completely different way, and everything points to Madcap. Madcap is a name for Rollins and that maniacal character he has right now. This Joker / Riddler kind of campy Batman villain he has. But I just don't know how they work in and with a bullet at this point, how quickly they work Rollins and Cody into a program, or if they set on that and Cody just shows up, or what. I don't know how this works at this point.
I would love to see an actual build that Cody gets, but if you're just wanting to pop a live crowd, I'm not sure that this couldn't been done more in like the we're going to sneak the Hardy brothers in and let them. I mean, Seth Rollins come to the ring, and maybe that is the way it goes. Maybe Seth Rollins comes to the ring, tries to hijack a broadcast, upset he's not on WrestleMania, and then Cody comes out there and whips up on him and gets the big pop, and then the feud is down the line. That could be another way they go with it. It's some ways a shame, though, that you're going to have the talent of Cody Rhodes and the talent of Seth Rollins and the potential they could bring to a 80,000 person crowd and not actually have the build-up and anticipation for the match. If they were to actually have a match, I don't know how you would have Cody lose on his first night, unless it's some twisted Vince McMahon, I got you under contract punishment thing, which is not out of character for the old man. But
no, put on the makeup and the spandex, kid. Get out there.
I mean, makes him, debut as Stardust or something.
Right, a returning Stardust.
Happens. I think that they put it on whatever night they think they need a little more of a balance to, and they let that Cody go over.
Yeah, I think if Cody does show up at WrestleMania or the night after Raw, whenever Cody does show up, he has to go over. I mean, I think if Triple H would have been healthy enough and not recently retired due to health issues, I think that would have been the best way to put Cody over. Especially if they bring him back in as the American Nightmare, really push that, wrestling has more than one royal family, and then have, the former AEW VP versus the WWE VP. I think that story just writes itself, but that ain't gonna happen now. But I'll be happy with Rollins. So
as far as who goes over, though, it shouldn't say it makes sense that, it's obvious, because it was also obvious that your NXT World Champion Killer Cross goes over on his debut too, and, and that's not the way they book it. So don't underestimate them fumbling this one, even though it should just write itself, as you
so
say.
Stardust in the pre-show for night one is what we're
doing. And losing.
And losing to Omos.
Oh, Doug, you want to talk night two?
Let's go to night two. So, again, my list is in no particular order here. I just pulled it off the interwebs. So I'm looking at WrestleMania Sunday so far. Oh, no, I am waiting for that one till very last. I'm not talking about that yet.
You got to save the main event for this one to the end.
So let's talk more celebrities. Let's talk Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn.
That's where I say I had to pick that Logan Paul's going to lose, because there's no way that Sami Zayn is going to win.
Sami has done this thing where he's found his thing in WWE. It's not the thing that I would have wanted for Sami, but it's the thing that works for him, and he seems happy. I mean, he and Steen both just re-upped their contracts, recently. They're sticking around. They look like they're probably going to be WWE for life at this point. But, Sami's found his thing. It works for him, but you're right. Johnny Knoxville's going over.
I mean, the checks still cash the same. You just don't risk your neck, right? I mean, be comical, and he is extremely comical. I mean, Sami Zayn is a profoundly funny sports entertainer. He also is a great high flyer and technical artist too. He just isn't using that part of his skill set. Again, it's more like the Mick Foley as Mankind later years, where if I can get by being entertaining and fans love it just as much, why would I risk serious injury? So at this point in Sami's career, it's hard to blame him. Honestly, when he was doing the mat-based action, he wasn't exactly on the cards very often, and he's farther with this than he was as full-fledged professional wrestler. But this one is booked, Doug, as a Falls Count Anywhere, I believe.
Is it? Let's see.
Anything goes. It's something to cover for the fact that there's going to be a lot of shenanigans.
Does this mean the entire team of Jackass at some point comes out to help Johnny Knoxville?
You know it, man. Absolutely, they're going to be there, and absolutely they're going to get involved. And Johnny Knoxville is going to win this thing.
Oh my goodness! So let me just shake off the ick of a celebrity appearance and let's go to RK. Let's talk RK Bro and Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. This just has fun written all over it, man.
Who would have thought this match would have as much build and intrigue to it as it actually has had?
I mean, the Street Profits are great. RK Bro, hilarious. Yeah, Alpha Academy. Man, we've seen Otis live, and I had no idea, none, how great this man actually is, how entertaining he is. My sentimental favorite here would be the Street Profits. I would like to see them capture gold, and then we see maybe RKO break up after this, which is sad. And then Alpha Academy can maybe go on to feud with the Street Profits or something down the road. But I want to see the Street Profits win here. And I just want to laugh and be entertained and just ooh and on at some amazing spots and see some insane RKO literally hit from out of nowhere.
This has been tremendous. I never would have thought that Randy Orton, when they started working him with Riddle, that it was going to go as long as it did, that it wasn't going to end up in a feud between the two of them, and that it would be as entertaining. And honestly, that Randy himself would actually seem pretty engaged, because I mean,
instead of Mr. Indifferent.
Yes, I don't mean to cast shade on someone who's been at it for so long, but Randy Orton's reputation has been when he's committed to something, he can put in good work, and when he wants to go through the motions, he goes through the motion. He even accepted Riddle's friendship. Like, I mean, it's been just hilariously entertaining, and Street Profits are really the only team that's had a long history in this, that as a team. So I'm tempted to say that they do walk away. On the other hand, I'm going to say Alpha Academy, because again, I think we need some heels going over. And I never would have guessed, honestly, that Chad Gable and Otis would work so well together as a team. I didn't like Heavy Machinery. I thought Otis on his own was entertaining, but not necessarily anything more than a novelty. And the mean Otis with the annoying Chad Gable at his side, getting to show his amateur wrestling acumen and everything. It's brought out the best in Otis. They're really good in the ring and really entertaining. They got the wrestling and the sports entertainment part down. So I kind of hope that they continue, Mr. Shh, and thank you. And Alpha Academy here.
Okay, cool. So
let's you and I have some differences. We need
that's cool. Right? We need some differences. Absolutely. We were way too in lockstep there on night one. So let's talk women's tag team championship, which most of these people just seem like teams thrown together. I mean, Zelina and Carmella, Sasha Banks and Naomi, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. Is this right? Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Is that right? Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Is that right?
Recent, but right. Yes.
Okay. Clearly, I'm not engaged enough in the product, because these are teams that are thrown together. Of course, we know it has sometimes hurt my ratings and my rankings here, but we know I don't bet on the boss or bet against the boss. So I'm going to go Sasha Banks and Naomi against my better judgment here. I would actually love to see Liv Morgan get a win, a big win, but I don't bet against the boss. So.
Liv Morgan is someone who I absolutely adore. Like, I really think she is so passionate about the sport of professional wrestling and has such a legit rags to riches story as a professional wrestling fan, and pulling herself out of poverty, and just, you want it so bad for her. And there was a time there around her incoming feud with Becky where I honestly kept betting on her pay-per-view after pay-per-view. We do on these previews, and I would predict her as the winner over Becky. Or
you get that rug pull every time with her.
She's going to be the Royal Rumble winner and go on and have the big match at WrestleMania, because she's good in the ring, she's believable on the mic, and the crowd loves her. But obviously the promoters don't, because they do pull out the rug every time. I'm going Sasha and Naomi also. I know that they aren't a long-standing team, but they have been given a lot of shine lately, a lot of focus put on the two of them. They work really well together, and Sasha Banks losing at WrestleMania doesn't ring right to my ears either.
Yeah. Wasn't it Naomi and Banks and Tamina that were in Team Bad back in the day with the PCB and
you're really I'd forgotten all about all of that.
Way back when all those ladies came up from NXT, and they just started smushing girls together and saying, you're in a team and you're in a team. And so there was some history there. So
yeah, if they do go over, though, I'd like to see them keep together as a team for a while, because they work really well together. And much like a Liv Morgan, Naomi is someone who has never got the attention she deserves, and so maybe working with the boss will help remedy that somewhat, because she's another incredibly talented lady who, because she's been with the promotion for a while, often gets overshadowed by the new ladies, or the new flavor of the month, or whatever the most recent person they would decide to push. And sometimes your Natalya's and your Naomi's and the women who've been there a while tend to fade to the background, which isn't fair to them.
And, maybe it's time to bring some women into the bloodline too, and acknowledge the females, and just let all that fall in. I could book this for years to come. But anyway, let's jump on to some our last celebrity nonsense for the night. And
thank goodness.
It's really not nonsense when Pat McAfee's concerned. I have learned to eat crow with McAfee. I talked a lot of trash before his first match, and I was proven wrong, so wrong. So this McAfee Austin Theory thing, I see this going really well because McAfee can work. Austin Theory can work. Theory's going to go over. Maybe some shenanigans by VKM himself. Maybe Mr. McMahon shows up, gets involved ever so slightly, just enough for Theory to go over. But Theory is going to go over because what's the point in pushing Theory if he's beaten by an announcer, really?
So I'm going to say that Pat McAfee goes over. I just wrestlers tend to lose to celebrities, and I think in this instance it will set the stage for the next chapter of McMahon Theory, in that McMahon is not very happy with Austin Theory.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to get him to that next level, and you lose to my commentator, and so this will be the next chapter of that story. Pat McAfee, like you, I was not interested when he first came on the scene as like, I don't want to see a celebrity or a sports celebrity in my professional wrestling. And then he ended up being great on the microphone and then surprised the heck out of me in the ring. So if he puts that much work into an NXT match, how much is he preparing behind the scenes?
Yes.
The grandest stage of them all.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, I will say that I've cooled a little on McAfee only because on commentary, a little has gone a long way. And sometimes I find him actually grating on commentary now. So I might be just fine if they kept him in the ring where he can be annoying on the microphone in shorter bursts than for 2 hours on Friday nights. But it's a great contest because Austin Theory is going to be the future of the business. I do believe in WWE. They'd be foolish for him not to be. But on this night, he's going to make the boss mad.
I like that booking. I like that, looking at the future. I do like that. And speaking of looking at the future, let's talk title unification in what will undoubtedly be the main event of night 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I've been saying it for months now that, my tribal chief takes that belt and unifies the championships and forces everyone to acknowledge him.
So we have been in lockstep for much of these 2 nights of WrestleMania. When it comes to the biggest match of the whole weekend, I'm actually going to go the opposite way. So we'll have one really significant difference on our predictions because at this point, if not Lesnar, then who? And I have thoroughly enjoyed the
Rock. That's who.
If
The Rock.
If The Rock actually comes back and gets involved. That's obviously some great fantasy booking, but it's been a very, very long time. Do you hold him on to that title for another year to bring? You're not going to throw, Rock Roman out at like Judgment Day or something. So, this is a WrestleMania match if that were to happen. And Roman Reigns is a made man. There's no 2 ways about it, regardless of whether he has the title or not. He is forever cemented as main event status in WWE. Therefore, I think that his almost 600 days now, or whatever it is and counting, comes to an end, because there was a time I would have gone the other direction and say that Reigns just doesn't lose to a part-timer like Brock Lesnar. But I'm not so certain at this point with Brock Lesnar, one, pretty much declaring he's out of the UFC game. There's no more comebacks in him for that. And the fun that the Cowboy Brock seems to be having right now.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't think that he's going to go away, and therefore it won't be like putting the belt on a part-time champion. I do think that it's much better than their 2 previous matches. Obviously, the very first match that they had at WrestleMania was notoriously not great. But this one, I think, with all the anticipation and all the focus closing out the whole weekend, I think the 2 men deliver. And I don't think it'll be a long contest per se, not like WrestleMania main event length, but I'd say you can get a good 15 minutes out of these 2. And I'm going to go with Brock. And I don't know that he keeps the belt long and that Roman doesn't get back in the mix. But I think they mix it up a little bit. Do you think though that as far as this match goes, do you expect that there will be surprises as far as outside interference, or do you think they keep the focus squarely on these two men?
I would like to see the focus squarely on these two men. I think the Usos will be out of things as far, we may see some Paul Heyman shenanigans, but I think the Usos will be taken out regardless of how their match actually turns out. But I still say they're going over. But they won't be able to interfere. Something will go on, and it will be a very tight contest between Brock and Roman Reigns. Now we talk about it, I'm curious to what they actually do. Do they actually unify the title? Do they smush it together and make one belt and make it a true unified title? Or do they do that goofy thing where people run around with a couple of belts? I would hope for, I hate that too. I hate
that. And I have my concerns about I like the idea of a unification. All right. We live in one world. You have as your promotion one world champion. And even if you keep the rosters separate, I like that we have maybe the champion can float back and forth between shows, and that keeps a fresh lineup of challengers for whomever it is. One fear I have about them actually unifying the titles, though, is they hinted at it on SmackDown, I believe, this week, that they called it. They said, who's going to emerge as the WWE Universal Champion. So apparently they're not just unifying the titles, but they're unifying the title names. I would prefer just having a WWE champion or saying your WWE World Champion. But I hated the idea of a universal champion anyway. It's a dumb name for
it is dumb. Yeah, well, I think they can't go below Universal at this point. They either have to just go WWE champion. They can't, unless we're getting multiversal champions at this point.
The intergalactic overlord. Yeah.
I want to see variant Brock Lesnar showing up now to challenge.
Well, that is your WrestleMania, Doug.
We hammered through that. I am impressed with us.
So
that's a lot of wrestling.
Let's go ahead and start talking NXT Stand and Deliver.
Braun Breaker for the win.
I say we go to the big finish.
Let's do it. What do you want to talk about?
Well, okay, so I did something a little different for mine this time around, and mine are all kind of linked. So I will be happy to give the floor to you, and I'll put mine together because they all go together.
Well, mine are all AEW, so let me start with the botch first. And this is a small, very nitpicky thing. And I love JR. JR is great. He fumbles occasionally, but he's allowed to. He is more than established himself as a legend in the business. But when Moxley cuts this amazing promo about the Blackpool Combat Club, and how they have to, you have to earn your right to hang out with them. JR's first comment is, well, what's that going to cost? The liver? This dude just got out of rehab. Come on, JR. I know it was just a slip, and I totally get what he was saying, but this man has been in inpatient rehab for alcoholism and has come back fit and vicious. And JR, again, a true botch in my opinion, but a botch nonetheless. That anything but saying what's that cost to get in? A liver? Come on, JR. You're better than that, man.
Yeah, that's not a good. No, that's not good. You want to go with your?
They're all AEW. Yeah, I will keep trucking, and I'll just keep it going here, because then we have the again. I'll tie it in. I probably should have done this first, but the Danielson and Mox match against the Varsity Blondes. I want to call this match my match of the week just because of the sheer awesomeness that is first Mox and Danielson, but how they are able to put over the Varsity Blondes without completely destroying them, because that should have been a straight up squash match. I mean, you have these two veterans of the business. Should have been a squash match, but they still make those kids look good by totally destroying them. And that takes an amazing bit of talent. An amazing bit of talent. And then, the last thing is the performer. Can MJF cut a better promo? I mean, every single night he is on TV, he cuts these amazing promos that just get better and better. And the heel heat he brought with him to Texas, this past Wednesday, kid's on fire. There will truly be a bidding war in 2024 for this kid.
26 years old still. That's it.
Amazing.
And he's already that good. And yeah, his mic skills are on par with anybody in the business right now. So Doug, the reason I wanted to do mine together, and I know this is unusual and I won't make a habit of this, but I never had an instance when I had it spelled out like that. My botch, my performer, and my match are all fairly much the same.
Interesting. What do you got?
So match of the week, Rollins versus Styles. I mean, on Monday Night Raw, you get Seth Rollins, you get AJ Styles in the ring. You're going to expect it's going to be good, and it was. Two talents that I think could probably have a match together in their sleep, and it was fantastic. It was my match of the week. My performer of the week is Seth Rollins, not just for that match, but for the great story that he's currently telling. I mean, it is actually a really compelling story if you've seen the last few weeks of Raw, to watch him desperately try to get on the WrestleMania card. Try, fail, rug pulled out from underneath him, frustration, heel, right. Turning against his best friend, and like all this acts of desperation. He's doing a great job as this maniacal character who's losing his flipping mind as he tries and fails and fails again. The botch part of all of this is it's a great story. It was a great match. It's too late. Like, this should have been all started a month ago, and even 2 months ago, you could argue. But even if it was started a month ago, you'd still have a couple of weeks worth of television where you could play with the Cody Rhodes character coming around and having somewhat of a build that is worthy of the match that is apparently taking place this weekend that is yet to be official. But obviously by the chance of the crowd that during Seth's promo on Monday night, very much unofficially known that this match is happening. So Seth Rollins, man, you're killing it. You're great. The match you had with AJ was great. But the storyline, the bookers on this one are letting you down by just trying to do a great story, just rushing it to the finish line until it has, it should be allowed to breathe and come to its natural conclusion. It's something that's not happening, but that's why it's all tied in for me, Doug, for my 1, 2, 3 this week.
Sounds good to me. I didn't hear any AEW botches in there, so okay.
You kept us centered with some AEW content, but Doug, don't worry. As you can see, folks, on our scroll, we are on our YouTube channels where we've been live. It's an experiment we've been doing through WrestleMania season. We're going to continue that at least through WrestleMania season, which ends, of course, next Sunday. 2 broadcasts, as we mentioned earlier in our show, but we'll have 2 broadcasts on WrestleMania Sunday right before the show, and then again immediately after it ends. The first broadcast will be review of night 1. The second broadcast, a review of night 2. Both of those shows, as well as all of our WrestleMania content, can be found in the archives on our Facebook channel as well as our YouTube channel. But Doug, after that, we've done so much wrestling talk on WrestleMania and it's been fun, but we're going to do a couple of weeks on AEW. So following WrestleMania, we're going to talk AEW's roster, and we're going to put Dynamite Doug on the spot, and we're going to sit here and we're going to dissect some decisions if we were to future endeavor talent to make room for all these free agents that Tony Khan is signing and the new promotion he's starting. And all these sorts of beautiful things. We're going to have that discussion, a little bit of fantasy booking here in 2 weeks. But before we do all that, it's next week. It's Mania season. Mania is the grandest of them all. You can watch wrestling from morning to night, pretty much starting on Friday. I did fail to mention, Doug, with the programming notes, the Hall of Fame. The WWE Hall of Fame, which we did a show on last week, again, in the archives, that airs at 10 o'clock, immediately following SmackDown on Peacock. But we will be back here on YouTube live next Sunday and next day airing on Facebook. So for the Two Bros Wrestling Show, I'm Kevin.
I'm Doug. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Appreciate it.